We're going to discuss leaf blowers. I've received periodically, complaints from residents about the noise. Thank you very much. And Diane Simon had emailed me, but other people have also been emailing me in recent weeks and months, and I guess years about.
Sure, years.
Yeah, about years.
I sit here?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay. So, hi.
That's good, it'll pick you up.
Yeah, it should be
Where's the
good.
camera? That?
It's up there, there's
Yep.
many.
Oh my, okay. Okay, so I represent, I live in Old Edgemont, and I think it's safe to say that I represent a growing contingent of households in Old Edgemont and Cotswold who are increasingly frustrated by the noise and aware of the pollution issues. So they're willing, I think, to ask for a summertime ban. So that would be the equivalent of what neighboring towns like Rye and Scarsdale and Larchmont have, where we allow leaf blowers to do a spring cleanup, a fall cleanup, but we ask for quiet during the summer months. It seems to us that there are, two related and large pollution issues. The first is noise. They're incredibly noisy, and there's never just one. So I think the average leaf blower, is 85 decibels, which is well beyond our town's noise limits. But, they're coming 3 or 4 at a time. And in Old Edgemont, for instance, I can hear probably 100 houses, that have a leaf blower at their, more than, so 3 leaf blowers at 100 houses. I'm hearing them Monday through Saturday, 8 to 6. And every time I think it's over, I think, oh, God, okay, it starts up again.
Are most of these commercial or?
They're all
residential?
commercial. I don't know anybody who has their own leaf blower besides Mr. Lewis.
It's got a muffler on it.
So, and they're all different groups. They're, everybody has their own landscaper, but they show up probably 3 or 4 at a time. And, they're at every house for, say, a half hour, 40 minutes. In our neighborhood, it's, we have small lots, so they're not there for that long. But then they move on to the next house. So we're listening to the noise, and we're breathing that air. And there was an oncologist in Greenwich who said that having a leaf blower at your house for an hour, one leaf blower, is the equivalent of letting 40 cars idle on your lawn for an hour. That's a lot. It stirs up all kinds of dust. Once I, by accident, left a window open, a small bathroom window. You would not believe what was in my house, the dust, the particulate that came in. And our kids have to breathe that. Plus, how many hottest years on record do we have to go through before we start to realize, we have to make some changes? So I think this is a small change. We're asking for, May through September, like in Scarsdale, for instance. I don't know what the exact dates in other towns are. Scarsdale, I think, is May 15th through September 30th.
Yeah, I guess.
Or it might be June 1st through September 30th.
Let me ask you, have the communities that have instituted the ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, have they made any analysis or comparison between, because now we have battery-operated leaf blowers and electric leaf blowers?
Good question.
So,
I don't know. I don't know. I talked to Scarsdale. They said they enforce it. They were very positive, but I don't know the answer to that,
Okay.
whether the people have come with other machines. What I did at my house, and I found it worked really well, was I mulched my leaves in the fall. And I don't use the blowers. I don't let them use the blowers in general. I have a garden in front and a lawn in back. They mulched the leaves in the fall, and it was great. It was great. I don't need any spring cleanup in the back where I mulch the leaves. None. It was incredible. I was really, really pleased. And I have a lot of trees, and I have a small yard, but even less area maybe for the the leaves to go into. So they mulched it, they used a mulching mower, which is half as loud. And, it's not quiet, but it's half as loud at least. And they took some of the mulch leaves, they spread it around the bushes, gave them some mulch for the fall, for the winter, actually, and it was great. It was incredible. There are alternatives. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have leaf blowers. I mean, right?
I use a rake. It's for the exercise.
Yeah, we had nice,
Leaf blower.
right. We had nice lawns. I don't know, I think if we found a compromise, people gave a little bit, in terms of how spotless they wanted their lawn to be, and used some alternative methods, a rake, a broom, mulching mower. There are alternatives. And I thought my yard looked good. I was proud of it.
One of the issues, that has come up, in the past was some of the country clubs had, expressed concern about the impact a ban would have, on their businesses. So I've written, since your email,
Right.
I drafted a letter to the country clubs just asking if they have any thoughts or if there's any compromise ideas. And then the Parks Department, we have parks and they've been using leaf
Right.
blowers also. And
Right.
they've indicated that, we've been cutting their staff, over the years, so they indicated that if we banned the leaf blowers, it could impact their, their ability to do as good a job as quickly. Do you have any, any thoughts on how we could sort of craft legislation that could sort of address,
Commercial also.
Right. I was
You
talking to
follow-
Mr. Lewis about it, and
Yeah.
I wasn't following it, and I didn't really think about it, but to me, maybe it's wishful thinking, I would think that there would be, I don't know, dispensations for certain things, like you certainly don't want, maybe your golf course to be covered with leaves, I get it, or your park, but it seems to me that leaf blowers in a park every 2 weeks is a different proposition from leaf blowers going in a residential
Or- or-
neighborhood.
Store in your house.
8 to 6 all day, every day.
or perhaps, I'm just throwing out, because I don't like the idea of saying, you can't use a leaf blower, but we're gonna use it because we're the government, we could do whatever,
Well, maybe it should
Don't
be
you?
based somehow on the area which is being proposed to be blown.
or-
the
Such that
size
if
of
you
it.
have,
Oh, maybe.
a significant amount of property of acres,
Maybe.
then you qualify, and if you
Right.
don't, then you don't, you know what I mean?
But most people who have acres, generally, you don't blow the whole thing.
yeah.
I mean, my in-laws, for instance, in Massachusetts, they have a big property, and they don't blow everything every week, like we with our sweet little lawns, me with my sweet little lawn, does. I mean, it's a different level of manicured and a different level of, they have woods.
Yeah.
You leave the leaves.
Yeah.
Or the other
exactly.
thing is, let's say, I'm just throwing out with the parks, you might say with municipal parks, we could limit the hours. And we could try figuring out, so this way, it can't be done during weekends, or at particular times during the day. So this way, you could have a ban, and then for country clubs, parks, and things like that, then we could have some sort of restrictions that would improve people's quality, of life. I think this has been really very helpful, and I'm
Well,
gonna-
usually in parks or country clubs, the audible, issues are less to residents because they're not built on.
Because they're separate.
They're somewhat separate, and that's only one saving grace, but maybe we should check to see, there's some commercial places that have a lot of grass that they may say, well, maybe like Paul was saying, we could change times, and the impact is less because the houses around them are far enough away, so we could check that too.
Right, but a country club, for instance, they can't be blowing all day, every day, or else all the people sitting at the
golfers.
pool, right, so I don't know what they do instead. It's a good
Well, we
question.
can check with their schedules.
Right. I think, though, that whatever we draft would have to be a certain size of property, so that we're not saying one group can do this and another group can't, so it might have
Be
to,
based on
might have to be
acreage
based on
or-
property size.
You know what
I
I'm gonna
think.
do is I'm gonna ask Jerry, Byrne, well, when you were talking about the types of,
one more for
the types of
Please
leaf
take-
blowers,
wanna
what were
take
you?
the rest?
There's battery-operated leaf blowers, there are
French
electric
machines,
leaf
not
blowers,
There
and
are
I think
electric.
even these days,
Right.
the solar-powered leaf blowers, the battery-operated leaf blowers, I would think would be becoming more popular.
They're
Sure.
quieter, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
The electric ones are certainly quieter, more like a
Correct.
hairdryer.
Yeah,
Which one's the battery?
battery operated.
Yeah, I guess that there's, the battery-operated are electric,
So,
because you
so do you know what we should,
Right.
charge the
Right.
battery.
so do what we should do
stop
is,
using the cord.
I'll reach out to the Commissioner of Parks, and I'll basically ask him, to come up with a
Schedule.
concept that they basically could live with. I'm writing to all the municipalities, and I want to get some sense how much, if it's being enforced or whatever. And then I'm thinking maybe the beginning of April, maybe like 2-3 weeks, we could try coming up with sort of a concept that, that could work. This has been really good because it's not really a yes or no. We might be able to figure out some sort of compromises, maybe really the Conservation Advisory Committee, because I know that this has been something that they've been, looking at. We've been talking about this for, probably before some people.
Many
were born.
years.
For some time.
Yeah, but the thing is, this has been really the most productive discussion, because I really feel that we could come up with some sort of compromise that is better than what we have now.
That'd be great.
So should we try putting this on the agenda, let's say, the week after April 11th, because I sort of figure that'll give me enough time, because that's the Passover week, April 11th. So why don't we do it the following Tuesday? And then, and by then, let's see if we could come up, maybe we could come up with a compromise proposal by then?
I have a question. How, I don't know how the towns or how you would plan to, say, communicate with the landscapers.
Well, that's probably easier to do, isn't it, Tim? To
I
let
feel
the
like they-
landscapers know, I think.
I'm just asking, because, they invested one of the arguments for it, and I'm not going to make arguments for it, because I'm against the
You're right.
machines, but, they invested money in these machines, it changes how they do their business. If there was a way to communicate with them and help them communicate with their customers and talk about,
Well, what we could do is I could put like a link to this discussion on the website. I could tell people that, we're considering, which would include various compromises, and if people want to speak to their landscapers, mention that this is something that's a possibility, they could, and would like to hear, you would like to include them as part of the discussion, so we could come up with something that improves quality of life, because the goal is not to throw landscapers out of business.
Well,
The goal
that's-
is really so you can enjoy a quiet and
Right.
comfortable quality of life.
right?
We've actually had this before the board, because it does
Yeah.
create issues. People who work at home, it really
Well,
is
like me.
a problem. So we have reached out to the landscapers before for input. So I think we could probably do that and try and figure out something that.
But you know what, the
works.
interesting thing is, you're the first person in decades to actually be open to, like, give and take and some compromises and all that, and I feel that if we have an approach where people aren't, like, totally rigid, then we could really come up with something that is, without question, better than what we have now. There's somebody who also, who emailed me, Robert Herman, and he lives in Hartsdale, and he's an attorney, and they said that they would be willing to, work on this.
Great. Well, maybe I'll keep gathering
I-
people. I
I'll-
haven't
I'll
even
send
started
something.
in Greenville yet, so,
Well, I think there's a really good shot that we could come up with something
great.
that
Great.
I just
works.
wanted to say
Thank
to your
you.
point
Yeah.
with mulching, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
We had a very nice meeting here where you had a landscaper who came in and really just informed people of the benefits of mulching, and because he was a landscaper, he had a lot more
Right.
credibility than other people.
Well, it was their idea. I told them I didn't want to use the blowers, what are my other options? And
Right.
it was my, landscaper, Santiago, who said, we can do this. And I said, great. But, then he leaves my house and has to go blow,
Somewhere else,
everybody
yeah.
else's.
Right.
So I get it.
Maybe people need to understand the benefits of it. And
Yeah.
That might be another thing, but I know the Nature Center has been very proactive in
Right.
this area.
Yes.
So we do have the data that talks about the benefits of mulching.
Sure,
They actually
sure.
give training
We're
at
also
the Nature Center for those.
looking at
Right.
organic compost site, for food composting. And one of the, maybe a text or, Rosa, we've been discussing that right now. I think the Edgewater schools and the Hastings
do.
schools. But basically, they do organic recycling, but then they transport it to Connecticut, which is like
Yeah.
stupid. So if we
Well, it's not
basically-
because it's not just vegetable waste. So my house, I compost my vegetable waste. It's easy. I do it in the backyard. I've got a
Right.
tumbler. It's no problem. But at school, at Sealy Place and at Greenville, we're composting cooked food.
Right, but
So
then
we
they have
need
to
to-
transport it.
Right,
to
but we
Connecticut.
need a commercial composting facility. If we had one closer,
That's
we
why
would
we're
certainly
gonna
use
try
that.
creating one in Greenburgh.
Great.
And we're looking basically at, we have like in fact, we've been meeting with the Nature Center, and
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at possibly, we have a site that was used, the Texter, Road. It's it's off in East Irvington, and we were looking at,
I don't know
that's where the leaves, have
Okay.
gone over the years.
Okay.
So basically, we would reserve part of that for organic composting, and then the school, if this works, then the schools would be able to send their compost instead of to Connecticut to
Great.
to Greenburgh, which would actually, then it's environmentally much
Sure.
better.
And it would cook it the same, because you need to heat it
Right.
to a certain temperature to break down all those, chicken bones. And
Yeah,
Sure.
so we definitely are actively working on that now.
that's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
that would change certainly the cost of the program at Sealy and
Right, and also more schools would probably participate, because then it becomes more economical and it's more practical. So we definitely are going to be working on that in the coming weeks and months.
we had a lot of pushback at the beginning at Sealy and Greenville, saying the kids wouldn't do it, the kids couldn't do it, it won't work, whatever. The kids are running it.
I'm sure they are.
The second graders, the first graders,
And
they're
that's really-
running it.
It really is great, because if we could get the kids to really do it, like religiously, then the parents will do it. We could cut 40% of our sanitation, budget over the years if we got full compliance. So this is, when people are saying, oh, we're wasting, government's too expensive, just a minor change, like you're doing in your own home, could save a lot. How much
Well,
garbage do you?
in my house, I only compost my vegetable waste, so, the broccoli stems, the
Sure.
cauliflower, stems, whatever,
Yeah.
banana peels. And then I have a just garbage disposal for, what the uneaten hamburger
Everyone's-
buns. And we're down to 2 garbage bags a week. We're a family of 4.
That's great. So, yeah, the last thing is you really have to join the Conservation Advisory Board. You don't have to join. No, because,
Raise your right hand. We're sorry.
so,
Yeah,
I hope you would consider it, because I really feel that, we really want to attract people, who, are talking quality of life, and that board's really active, and I think if you're willing, I think
I'd love to talk to them.
that's great. Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye now.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Lewis.
Good, so we'll have this on, what's the date again?
The 18th.
April 18th.
Who's number one?
Proposed legislation, hopefully.
Okay,
We're doing agenda review first.
Thanks again.